Marie Antoinette, during her lifetime, was already a legend, the beautiful yet extravagant Queen of France. But behind the glittering facade lies a different truth. What was Marie Antoinette really like? And what happened to her children? In this video, you'll uncover the true story of the queen whose family ultimately endured one of the most tragic and cruel fates in history. On November 2nd, 1755, a princess was born in Vienna.
Maria Antonia.
Maria Antonia Josepha Johanna of Habsburg-Lorraine. As the 15th child of Empress Maria Theresa, she initially seemed insignificant. Little Antoinette grew up in the Grand Hofburg, dearly loved but frequently overlooked. Her childhood was happy, but her education was lacking. When Marie was 10 years old, she couldn't write in German or speak it particularly well. Maria Theresa neglected Antoine's education. She found her daughter charming but also quite insignificant. Fortunately, Marie discovered her love for music. She played the harp and the flute and was said to have a truly beautiful voice. Marie Antoinette was never intended to become the most prominent royal bride in her family lineage. 4 of her older sisters were supposed to marry into the most famous royal houses of Europe. But fate took a sharp turn. They fell ill, passed away, or were left disfigured by smallpox. Their chances were entirely gone. And so, little Marie Antoinette was unexpectedly chosen, entirely unprepared to become a queen. In 1770, the 14-year-old Antoinette was sent to France to marry the heir to the throne, Louis. This marriage was intended to end a 200-year-old rivalry between France and Austria and establish peace between France and the Habsburgs. Marie had no idea that she would never see her homeland Austria again. At the border between the two countries, a formal ceremony took place. Marie was forced to literally abandon everything Austrian behind. Her ladies, her clothes, even her beloved pet. Maria Antonia officially transformed into Marie Antoinette. At first, she was dazzled by the splendor of the French court. Versailles, the gold standard for palaces in Europe, endlessly copied by other royal houses. On May 16, 1770, she married the timid Louis Auguste. 2 strangers brought together for the political interests of their countries. The marriage remained unconsummated for 7 years, a scandal for all of Versailles. On May 10th, 1774, King Louis XV succumbed to smallpox and died in Versailles at the age of 64. He was extremely unpopular towards the end of his reign, and only a handful truly appeared to mourn him. The French people now looked at Louis XVI with hope and optimism. The new king was young, just 19 years old, and even though he lacked the flair or the commanding presence of his grandfather, he was viewed as a kind, genuine, and deeply conscientious young man, promising traits for a truly great and capable ruler. So in 1774, Louis rose to become Louis XVI, and Marie Antoinette became the Queen of France. But the country they now ruled faced significant problems. France was deeply in debt. Income inequality was at an all-time high. Almost 90% of the population, including farmers and workers, paid the highest taxes, while the aristocracy was spared. Poor harvests and an extreme winter caused the bread prices to rise dramatically, and the farmers were left with no choice but to spend almost their entire income solely on food. The pressure on Marie Antoinette was immense. She escaped into a life of luxury. The Palace of Versailles, located a few kilometers outside of Paris, became her golden refuge. The distance from Paris made Versailles a residence with bizarre etiquette rules. It was all about rank and show. Marie Antoinette and Louis couldn't even eat in private. A large crowd was always gathered, eagerly watching them dine in full public view every day. Marie dove into pleasures like mad. She learned fast. Style, wit, and charm won the aristocracy's praise. She was determined to become the most fashionable, charming, and desired woman in France. Massive powdered wigs, extravagant dresses, gambling. She was a young woman with a virtually limitless credit line. But behind the glittering facade, there was an unhappy woman. Her marriage was completely devoid of love. She longed for physical fulfillment. Instead, she immensely enjoyed court entertainment and loved music and dance. And the gambling. She won or lost entire fortunes in just one single evening. Louis and Marie Antoinette were as different as two individuals could possibly be. Where she was lively and outgoing, he remained shy and awkward. He constantly struggled with indecision, while she acted decisively and with speed. Though he privately admitted that he loved his wife and found her beautiful, he still refused to consummate their marriage. For 7 years, this situation remained unchanged, an open secret in Versailles. In 1777, finally, the breakthrough. After a visit from her brother Joseph II, the marriage was consummated. In 1778, their first daughter was born, Marie-Thérèse Charlotte. At last, the Queen had everything she had been longing for. Marie Antoinette became a loving mother. After Marie-Thérèse, 3 more biological children followed. In 1781, the Dauphin Louis-Joseph was born. In 1785, Louis Charles, and in 1786, little Sophie Beatrice came into the world. The loss of little Sophie after only 11 months hit Marie hard. It was her first painful loss as a mother. But Marie Antoinette adopted 6 more, Jacques Armand. In 1776, she saved a 5-year-old orphaned peasant boy during a carriage accident. She saw this encounter as fate and was truly convinced that taking care of the orphan would bring her good fortune, deeply holding on to the hope of soon having a son of her own. Jean Amilcar, a child from Senegal, who was given to her as a slave. Instead of keeping him as a status symbol, she freed him and had him baptized. A remarkable gesture for her time. Ernestine Lombriquet, the daughter of a chambermaid. After her mother's death, the Queen adopted her. She slept in the same room as Marie-Thérèse, wore the same clothes, and received the same education. Added to this were Zoe and her 2 sisters, 3 more orphan girls whom Marie genuinely cherished and adored. Marie Antoinette loved her children above all else, but royal protocol prevented her from taking care of them every day. Instead, they were entrusted to governesses and nurses. Whenever possible, she took her large brood of children to her private retreat, the Petit Trianon. There they could play freely without needing to follow the strict rules of the court. In this refuge, Marie realized a special dream in 1783. She transformed the Trianon gardens into a rustic village. With huts, a mill, and a small farm, she was able to enjoy a much simpler life there with her children, far away from the strict court ceremonies. But this innocent family idyll turned into the source of immense scorn. People accused her of pretending to be a peasant and ridiculing poverty. Meanwhile, the farm was practical and actually provided genuine employment opportunities, like the famous "let them eat cake" quote. The Queen's village eventually became a symbol of her apparent arrogance. While Marie blossomed as a mother, public opinion dramatically turned against her. Although the young queen was initially welcomed by the French people with open arms, she now became the prime target of the increasingly embittered populace. Another dramatic event turned out to be the infamous diamond necklace affair. Back in 1772, Louis XV ordered an extravagantly expensive diamond necklace for his mistress. When he died of smallpox in 1774, the piece of jewelry remained unsold. The court jewelers offered it to Louis XVI as a gift for Marie Antoinette, but she turned it down. Thanks to a fraudster who forged Marie's signature, false rumors started circulating. Marie had ordered the necklace and then refused to pay. Even though the fraudster was later convicted, the damage had already been immense. This event brought things to a boiling point. From the beloved queen, she turned into the despised Austrian woman. While Marie Antoinette took care of her children, unrest brewed in France and the people were starving. The queen became the scapegoat for all the empire's troubles. June 1789, a devastating blow from Marie Antoinette herself. Her 7-year-old son Louis-Joseph died of tuberculosis. The little heir to the throne, weak and sickly since birth, succumbed to his illness. Marie was utterly devastated. The nation seemed to barely acknowledge the death of my poor little prince. While she grieved for her son, the people were solely focused on one thing, the revolution. July 1789, the fateful date. The people's anger boiled over. The old fortress, the Bastille, was stormed. Prisoners were freed, the armory was ransacked, the prison commander was brutally murdered. Paris was sinking into chaos and violence. At 2 a.m, the king was awakened in Versailles and informed that the Bastille had fallen. "Is it a revolt?" asked Louis XVI. "No, sir," came the reply. "It is a revolution." Throughout the summer, the situation escalated rapidly. While Marie mourned her dead son, she became the most hated woman in all of France. The Austrian woman was held responsible for everything: the empty state coffers, the shortage of bread, and the immense suffering of the people. October 1789, the day that changed everything. An angry mob marched from Paris to Versailles. They demanded bread, they demanded justice, they demanded the queen. Marie Antoinette barely escaped death. With her children, she hid inside the king's bedchamber while the mob raged through the halls of Versailles. They barely managed to escape just before the guards regained control. The mob stormed into her bedroom, killed 2 royal bodyguards, and tore her bed apart with their bayonets. Destroying the queen's private, sacred space was akin to defiling her very essence and dignity. The old order was dead. The next day, the royal family was forcibly taken to Paris, effectively as prisoners. The happy days at the Petit Trianon were over forever. Marie Antoinette, once the most powerful woman in France, was now a prisoner of her own people. Marie Antoinette recognized the danger and put an end to her pleasure-seeking ways. While the king sank into deep lethargy, she took decisive action with unwavering determination. She began a desperate and relentless fight against the revolution. "Our situation is terrible," she wrote to her brother. "If we want to escape annihilation, we must take the only path that remains available to us, the escape." For months, she secretly planned it. Her confidant, Count Axel von Fersen, a Swedish nobleman. For years, rumors of an affair between them have circulated widely at court. Whether lover or devoted friend, he was always ready to risk absolutely everything for her. On the night of June 20th, 1791, the royal family, disguised as a valet and governess, climbed into a waiting carriage. Marie trembled with fear, not for herself, but for her young children. Little Louis Charles was only 6 years old at the time. Count von Fersen steered the carriage through the dark streets of Paris. As long as he was in command, the matter was in good hands. He knew every path, every danger. But then came the fatal mistake. The king ordered Fersen to step away. The people were never to discover that a foreigner, a Swede, aided their escape. Marie pleaded with him to stay, but Louis XVI remained stubborn. The escape was doomed to fail from the very beginning. They traveled in a brand new luxury carriage, heavy, slow, conspicuous, with shelves for the king's favorite wines and built-in compartments for the queen's toilet. 30 kilometers to the border. Marie kept looking back. Was someone following her? Only 60 kilometers remained to the Austrian border, and they were finally safe. Warren, a small town that sealed their fate. The postmaster Jean-Baptiste Royer studied the travelers' faces. Suddenly he froze. That face, he recognized it from the banknote in his own pocket. Louis XVI, stop in the name of the nation. Marie Antoinette collapses, her children cling to her, the dream of freedom shatters. They are captured. The journey back to Paris takes 4 days at a walking pace. A public humiliation. People line the streets everywhere, shouting, spitting, throwing stones. The children are crying. Marie holds them protectively in her arms. The image of the untouchable monarch is irrevocably destroyed. The royal family is brought to the Temple Tower, a dark and ancient dungeon located right in the center of Paris. They live in extremely cramped quarters, guarded by rough wardens who constantly humiliate them whenever they can. But she holds her family together, teaches her children, reads to them, and strives to provide them with a sense of normalcy. January 1793, the day that changed everything. Louis XVI was led to his execution. Marie only discovered the truth when they handed her his wedding ring. After more than 2 decades of marriage, the royal couple had shared a profound and enduring bond of affection. She didn't break down. She couldn't. Her children depended on her entirely. But the worst was yet to come. They took her children away. The 8-year-old Louis Charles was torn from her and brought to another floor. "My son's interest is the one and only thing that must guide me now," she wrote in despair. "And no matter how happy I would have been to escape from here, I simply could not bring myself to agree to be separated from him." Every night she hears him crying. That poor child is being horribly mistreated. They force him to testify against his own mother, call him a servant instead of majesty. Marie-Thérèse, her 15-year-old daughter, stays close to her, silent and deeply filled with sorrow. August 1793. Marie was moved to the porter's lodge, the anteroom to the execution. A damp, cold cell, barely 2 meters wide. There she waited for her trial to begin. Her hair turned grey, her body weak. October 1793. The trial began. A farce. The verdict was decided from the start. They accused her of high treason. She is accused of having forwarded attack plans from France to Austria. "I have nothing to regret," she says with a calm voice. "My conscience is pure and clear." 5 o'clock in the morning. Marie Antoinette wakes up for the last time. She writes a letter to Madame Elisabeth, the king's sister.
Ich sterbe frei von Hass gegen jene, die mich verurteilt haben.
She dresses herself carefully. Her hair is cut short. Her hands are tied behind her back. The journey to the execution took an hour. People lined the streets everywhere. The same people who once cheered her as the young heir to the throne in her early days. 12:15 p.m. With steady and determined steps, she climbed the scaffold. "Forgive me, monsieur," she said to her executioner, after she unintentionally stepped on his foot. The guillotine fell. Marie Antoinette, Queen of France, was dead. She was 37 years old. The executioner lifted her head high, the crowd erupted in triumphant cheers. The Austrian woman was defeated. But what ultimately happened to Marie Antoinette's children? Armand deserted the royal family, aligned with the revolutionaries, joined the army ranks, and actively fought against his adoptive parents. In 1792, he tragically fell in battle at the young age of only 21 years old. Jean Amelka was taken in and raised by one of his teachers. It is said that he had a natural talent for drawing and was admitted with a scholarship to an art academy in Paris when he was just 15 years old. Unfortunately, he passed away that same year due to an illness. Ernestine was taken to her biological father in the countryside. When the palace was stormed, a governess brought her to safety. Her father was executed in 1794. Ernestine eventually married and spent her years in quiet anonymity, ultimately passing away in 1813 at the age of 35. Zoe was sent to boarding school together with her sisters for safety reasons. Marie Antoinette paid the school fees as long as she was able to. Without any financial support, the children had no choice but to leave the school. After 1792, all traces of the three sisters were completely lost. Louis Charles endured the cruelest fate of them all. The 8-year-old was kept in solitary confinement and suffered from whooping cough. Marie Antoinette could sometimes hear the coughing and cries of her son through the thick prison walls. According to Marie-Thérèse, this became the Queen's sole focus and her constant, overwhelming preoccupation. The boy was forcibly made to sign a document in which he accused his mother of sexually abusing him. After this statement, the boy supposedly stopped speaking. After his mother was also executed, little Louis Charles was left completely alone. For 6 long months, his meals were only passed through the bars of his cell, leaving him completely without human interaction or exposure to daylight. On June 8, 1795, he died under horrific conditions. An autopsy revealed numerous marks on his body, pointing to the severe mistreatment he had suffered during his imprisonment. Marie-Thérèse alone survived. She only knew of her father's execution. What had happened to her mother, her aunt, or her brother, she only found out about it shortly before her liberation. In despair, she carved into the walls of her cell. Marie-Thérèse Charlotte is truly the unhappiest person in the world. She couldn't receive any messages from her mother or reunite with her, even though she pleaded desperately 1,000 times. After 13 months of solitary confinement, she was released on December 18, 1795, one day before her 17th birthday. She was only just 13 years old when her whole entire family was imprisoned. And so concluded one of the most tragic family tales. Marie Antoinette, a woman who found herself in the wrong place at the wrong time. The dramatic events of the French Revolution, particularly the imprisonment and brutal murder of the royal family members, naturally sparked countless rumors and fueled widespread conspiracy theories at the time. After the death of young Louis Charles, rumors swiftly emerged that he had successfully escaped from prison and that another child had been placed in his stead to die. This theory caused numerous individuals to step forward after the French Revolution, boldly declaring themselves as the legitimate heirs to the throne. A persistent conspiracy theory also maintained that Marie-Thérèse was secretly replaced with Ernestine as a double throughout or following her time in captivity. In this context, the so-called Dark Countess is often brought into the discussion. A mysterious woman who lived a secluded life in Hildburghausen and was believed by some to truly be Marie-Thérèse Charlotte, even though this has been scientifically disproven. Marie Antoinette's story is that of a deeply loving mother whose children endured a tragic and cruel fate. Out of 10 children, only 1 survived the revolution. She was a scapegoat for the mistakes of an entire era, a queen who cherished her children more than her own crown.